What up, YouTube? It's Mr. Hates Company. In this video, we're going to be showing you the very best Doctor Strange build for both PvE and PvP. With Alliance raids right around the corner, Doctor Strange is a hero that you're definitely going to want to have in your repertoire. He is fantastic and does crazy amounts of damage, like I said, in both game types. So shout out, though, to PucksOutPod. He is actually a member of my Alliance. Pucks, thank you again for all this information. He is a Doctor Strange main and does some really crazy things with them, and he's actually the one that gave us all this information, so shout out to him. He actually does create content for Marvel Revolution. I will leave his links below. Shout out to him and check him out. He deserves your attention. Now, without further ado, let's jump straight into the video. Okay, so first things first, with Doctor Strange, we want to look at the options you have for his costumes. So for their free-to-play friendly friends, we have a few that I would recommend. The first one is going to be the Defender's option. This is for free to play, so it gives you at the 2 set attack, 3 set HP, and at the 4 set you're going to boost your 7 rings of Ragador skill, which is just one of your top DPS skills. It does a ton of damage, and this is going to make it do that much more. So there's actually another one for free to play, believe it or not, which is the Ornate. This one does basically the same exact thing, except for the 3 set you get defense instead of HP. So for free to play, if you pull a bunch of Ornate and you don't have the other one, this is still a great option. You get the 7 rings of Ragador or whatever, and that's what you want to look for free to play. Now for the best regional, you do actually still have a couple of options. So Xanderth is an option as well. So you at the 2 set you get attack, then HP, and then you're going to the 4 set you get the Mystic Arts class skill, and that's the one you're looking for, is Mystic Arts class skill. Now let's say you don't have Xanderth. Another option is actually going to be Hydra. So Hydra, again, it's very similar, but you get 8 attack, defense, and then you get the Mystic Art. So again, either one is perfectly fine. You don't feel great because usually at that 3rd set, you do get either crit rate or defense pierce with most heroes. For whatever reason, Doctor Strange regional gives you defense and HP. So it makes him a little bit more tanky, but truly, I would rather build him as a glass cannon if I had that option, but you unfortunately do not. Maybe at a later date. Now, for our whales or just late game individuals, for special costumes, there is only one, and I'm going to tell you right now, it is a absolute banger of an option, and that's going to be Steampunk. That's because you get the best of both worlds. You actually get at the 2 set the 7 rings of Ragador skill at +7, and then at the 4 set you get the Mystic Arts class skill +7. And guess what? This first skill is the same. It is Mystic Arts, so that's +14 on your skill. That gives you the absolute highest amount of damage, which is sick. That is what you're going to want to do. In fact, I am working on Doctor Strange for the Alliance raids, and I'm going to be wearing my one and only Steampunk full set on my Doctor Strange, not even my magic. And you know how much I love my magic. She's my main, but Doctor Strange benefits that much from this set that I'm actually going to prioritize him as an ult over what I could do with my magic. So just to give you an idea of how seriously I'm taking Doctor Strange, I'm doubling down on him. Steampunk for Doctor Strange all the way. So now let's go ahead and talk about the Omega cards just a little bit. I don't have any on him at the moment, but I do. I have PvP, defense, and then villain. These are just holding points for specials, but all in all, you're going to want to look for cooldown decrease. You want the Doctor Strange cooldown card. Let's see if I can actually find him real quick. You do want this one, which is the Doctor Strange cooldown card. That is a just game buster for Doctor Strange. The 2 sets kind of meh, but what you absolutely want is this cooldown reduction. There is another cooldown card, I think at number 2. Or let's see if I can find it really quick. I know it exists. I just don't know if I can find it on this list. It is a 2 set. I don't know why it's not. Are they in order? They are in order. Bruh. It's just not. It's just not there. All right. Well, it's at number 2, and it's just not here apparently. But it gives you another cooldown one. I have 3 of them, like 2 cards of it. I don't know on my whatever. Anyway, it's there. It exists. Cooldown is what you want. Then you want to get crit rate, as well as crit damage, as well as some defense pierce. Now, all of which are going to be giving you an absolute ton of the stats that you want for PvE and PvP. So keep that in mind. Going on to your battle badges, you're going to want to, and ignore my gear, obviously. I'm moving things around at the moment while we get ready for Magic Transmute, which is coming very, very soon. Probably actually already by the time you see this video. But the badges you're going to want, you want it Stam Recovery, because he does struggle with Stam Recovery. His skills have very high cooldown as well as very high Stam cost. So you want to look for cooldown as well as stam recovery and your battle badges that will help you. It's a little bit of a tip that'll help you a lot with Doctor Strange. Now let's go into the fun stuff, which is his skills. So for PvE, the first thing, this is actually, think of this as a true rotation. This is what you're going to want to do. So for the very first skill, and they're all mystic arts with the exception of one, the first one is going to be the 7 rings of Ragador, which is the one we talked about doubling down on in our special set. That's because it does 1,381% damage. And it is crazy. It said creates distance from the enemy if they are close. So it literally pushes them away if they're too close to you, which is also pretty interesting. I didn't realize that did that as well. But already, and I don't have I don't have a 4 set on him at all, and it already does this much damage just at level 15. So that just tells you just how much damage you could do with this skill. And it looks pretty quick with a 19-second cooldown with basically no stats on my Doctor Strange, which is huge. The next skill is going to be Gateway Summoning. So this is another just big juicy skill, and the really cool thing about this one is you can actually interrupt it but still get the cast off. So right after you do this, then you can interrupt and you actually do the full skill. You get all the damage, but you interrupt the actual casting of it, so it doesn't actually have to take as long, which is huge. The next one is going to be Book of Byzanti, which again is Mystic Arts, and its cooldown is 20 seconds, and you do 968% damage to enemies within range. This is a click and forget it skill, so all you have to do is make sure they're targetable, click it, forget it, and you're going to full send it. Now, the next one is going to be Astral Projection Soul Predator. This is what you're actually going to be using this one for PvE and PvP. It doesn't really matter about the percent, but you do not receive damage while you're in your fluid state. So while you're in that little bluish state, you do not take damage, which is good. So you are targetable, but you don't take damage. So keep that in mind, different from an iframe. But the cool thing about this is recover stamina by 8.9% for each target hit. So obviously in dimension duels, well, we're talking about PvE right now. So if you can hit a boss and some crash mobs, you can actually get a decent amount of stam back. And then it also decreases your melee damage received, which is great. The next skill is another just click, point, shoot, and kill him basically, which creates multiple of these dinner plates, if you will, and does 920% damage. Again, this is a Mystic Arts. Pretty decent low cooldown at 18.7 without any really gear on him, but does again require high amounts of stam. Now moving on to our PvP build, and this is where things get a little crazy, and I feel like people are absolutely sleeping on Doctor Strange. So the first skill that you're going to want to do, regardless of what you're doing, either Dimension Duels or any other PvP with like Omega War, you're going to want to pop this skill first and on cooldown. That's going to be your Master of the Mystic Arts, Soul Enhanced. This is where you get an increase to defense pierced. And at max level, you increase your defense pierced by 24.76%. So ideally, that gets you to max defense pierce, which would be huge. And you can just do a ton of damage with your next skill. And guess what it is? That's right, 7 rings of Ragador, which again is, like we talked about, same skill as previous. So as you can see, all these skills are actually, for the rest of them, are actually exactly the same. So again, just touching on them ever so quickly, you're just looking for quick damage. You want cooldown recovery so you can get these off cooldown even faster. So that you got the dinner plates doing damage, point, click, shoot. And then of course you have this, which is a point, click, shoot and just blow people up, does a ton of damage. And then last but not least, the Astral Projection. This is also just going to be a really good option when people do like iframe, any, basically think of this as like a free dodge, because again, you're not invincible, but you're not taking damage, so they can still target you, waste their skill, and if timed right, you can completely negate any damage you would take. So it's in my opinion, it's almost better than an iframe because they actually do get the ability of thinking they can hit you. So if you're playing against Doctor Strange, keep in mind when you see him do this, don't use your skills because he's not taking damage. And it's just brief, but you can be used as like a 4th dodge, if you will, and you get some stand back if you hit the enemy, which is fantastic. That's going to do it for our skills for both PvE and PvP for Doctor Strange. You cannot talk about Doctor Strange without talking about the absolute best companion for him, which is obviously going to be Baron Mordo. And that's because of his skill bonus, because it is either magic or Doctor Strange. You do get the attack bonus, you get the ultimate gauge recovery, and you get decreasing of % of your cooldown, which is just absolutely fantastic. He is a go-to, an absolute must for Doctor Strange. Okay, so the very last thing I want to go ahead and talk about for Doctor Strange is going to be the specializations. They're very, very straightforward, but there is a slight change you can make for both PvE and PvP. Okay, so for PvP, I'm actually already working on them. So the first one you would want to do is increase max cooldown decrease by a % amount, and that is going to be the Waves of Despair time manipulation. It's the bottom left yellow one. Is a very good option. Again, we've talked about how important cooldown decrease is for Doctor Strange. This just puts a lot more emphasis on it. Next up is just the best of both worlds. It's going to be at the very top of the spec tree. Dark Magic, Will of the Destroyer. You get a flat % of attack, and you also get increased cooldown, skill cooldown, which is fantastic. That's the two things you want the most on Doctor Strange, all in one specialization trait. Fantastic. So the next one we're going to talk about is this balancing one at the top right, called Dark Magic, Cruel Choice. Increase Mystic Arts class skill damage by a % amount. At max, it is 20%. So just, if again, based off all the skills you're using for both PvE and PvP, 4 out of the 5, you're actually using Mystic Arts, which is just 20% free damage. Regardless of what your opponent's doing, just free damage, which is huge. All right, next one is going to be, where am I? Right here, which is Dark Magic Etched Fear, which is increasing damage rate by 6.75% for 5 seconds when using a Mystic Arts class skill. This is a great option. Again, it increases your max damage rate. It does have a cooldown, but again, you're increasing your max damage rate. You're really just kind of building up your big boyo, the 7 rings attack, and just doing a ton of damage with it. Now for PvP, the only thing that I would actually recommend changing is this one, increase max cooldown. You know, basically one of these two yellow ones I would actually recommend changing. For me, I actually might recommend this one the more I look at it, because the max damage rate is nice, but I would actually prefer the cooldown. And this one does have a cooldown itself on the specialization. So when it comes to PvP, it's really just something that, especially in Dimension Duels, the 5 seconds could really be like half your fight, depending on how that's going. So the one that I would actually recommend trading for that is actually right here at the very bottom. It's White Magic, August's Blessing. So it decreases damage received from nearby enemies by a % amount. At max level, it is 18%, which is just free stats. You take 18% less damage all the time when people are near you, which is huge. Those are the traits I would use for both PvE and PvP. I hope this video has helped you. I know that I'm very excited about building my Doctor Strange, because I feel like a lot of people are just sleeping on him, and he is very, very strong in both PvE and PvP. And with Alliance raids, either here by the time you watch this video or coming very, very soon, he is going to be a great option for that. And I feel like a lot of people are going to want to roll him. So shout out, like I said in the beginning of this video, to PucksOutPod. He is a member of my Alliance, which is Aunt May's Cookies on the Hydra server. He is actually the one that hooked me up with the entire build. He actually also creates content for Marvel Future Revolution in the version of podcasting. So if you want to check him out, I will put all his links below in the description, and one quick little link tree. Shout out to him. Thank you again for all the information. And he is a absolute stellar Doctor Strange and deserves your attention. So check him out. And again, in the links below. Now, until next time, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you watch all of my other loadout videos for all the different heroes that you should be working on for your ults or Alliance raids. And until next time, lock it in.